Open the meeting today, and we have a guest, Sal. Is it Garazzo? Garazzo.
Yeah.
Pronouncing that right.
Yeah, thank you.
Who's the executive director of UCP Berkshire County. And I wanted him to come and speak with us about assistive technology and what's available.
Right.
So I'm going to do a roll call. I'm Lynn Kelly. I'm the chair. Doug Mayo is next. Did you want to say hello?
Yeah, my name is Doug Mayo. I'm a member of this committee and a member of the city council.
And looks like Pamela McBride has joined us. Hi, Pamela.
Hi, I'm Pamela McBride. I'm with the Greenfield Public Library.
And next is Bob Williford.
It's me, yeah. I'm the newest member of the CDA.
And
not the youngest, just the newest.
Well, we don't know about that. And Lindsay Rowe, who is our ADA town coordinator. So I'm going to open. So that's the roll call. And absent are Virginia DeSorga and Laura Jordan. So first on the agenda is we just need to approve the minutes from September 9th, from the meeting on September 9th, 2021 and October 1st. Were there any?
Are we doing these both together?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I think that's the easiest way.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. All right.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
All right. I'm also going to do the treasurer's report today, just to cover for Virginia. The CDA budget has remained unchanged. It's $300. And the handicap parking fund is now $3,421.05. So it is growing. All right. Everyone willing to accept the treasurer's report?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today, and if he'd like to take the floor.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me, and thanks for sharing in the cause that we mutually support, which is helping people with disabilities live a life as independent and as full as possible. So I'm looking forward to doing this presentation, what we call AT 101. And I'm hoping that the experience that you get from the presentation is maybe we can share some information that will encourage you to look at assistive technology a little bit more deeply, because it's constantly changing, and I want to and our goal at UCP's Assistive Technology Center is really to educate people and make assistive technology as available to people as possible. So before I begin, my name is Sal Garazzo. I'm currently executive director of UCP of Western Massachusetts, providing services throughout Berkshire, Franklin, Hampden, and Hampshire County. Different types of services. Our services have actually grown, and this presentation and this program is funded through Mass Match. Mass Rehab Commission has Mass Match, which goes to fund the state assistive technology centers charged with doing educational series and demonstrations. So with that, I'm going to try and share. Can I share the screen, Lynn?
You should
I
be
think
able
so. Check with Lindsay.
you should be able to. If it's not letting you, let me see what I can do.
Oh.
Um, um,
Don't be a stranger.
Thanks so much for everything.
Thank you.
let's see, can you share now?
I'm going to press the share button. I'm going to go to my presentation.
Oh,
And
there we go.
how does that look?
Good.
It looks like you made it to me.
Looks good.
All right, so I'm going to click through a bunch of slides, which are really more administrative. We can go to those at some point if people are interested, but I really want to get to, I'm going to move everybody off to the corner over here and get to some slides that I thought you would be pertinent, because we could talk about assistive technology all day. But this is what I was talking about earlier. Before we started, this is our actual Assistive Technology Roadshow, which is the AT Center, which is mobile. And what we do is we basically take the devices that any assistive technology center would have and drive this vehicle to a location that's convenient for people and do AT demonstrations, education, and training right in the comfort of your own community. All we need is a parking space, a space for our tent, and we're really good to go. The thing that's unique about this AT Roadshow and why we're excited about it is that it actually has a backup generator as part of the project. So we not only can demonstrate some of the latest devices in smart technology, but we actually set this up on a computer so that you can do a remote meeting with some of the AT professionals that you may have an interest in speaking to. So we not only bring the devices, but we actually bring the staff to your center with the virtual experience.
I would imagine that would be very popular up in the Berkshires, where
Yes.
there's very, the internet is very spotty. As a
Well,
matter of fact, the person holding the plaque there has always complained about, that he can't even connect. He's a state rep and he can't even connect to the internet from his home.
my understanding, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but I've heard Representative Paul Marks say that he actually has to vote from the Greenfield library so that he can actually have connectivity.
Wow.
Or a parking lot.
Yeah. So actually, one of the things that UCP has is a technical support center. So not only do we do the assistive technology side, but we actually have a contract or had a contract. We're hoping to renew it with Mass Rehab Commission to help people with disabilities with the technology that they need for connectivity, hotspots, all of the Wi-Fi connectivity support devices that people need to be able to connect in the future, specifically because Western Mass is so resource challenged with connectivity issues. And I know Greenfield particularly has a challenge, correct?
Not really, because we have an in-town internet service called GSET that the town actually owns, and we're spreading out all over town. We haven't got all of the town, but I think we've hit. Speaking as a city councilor, I think we've hit about 80% of the town with internet service.
The biggest challenge we had during COVID was helping people with disabilities access what they needed to access through connectivity issues. And that's where our technology center kind of established itself. But you are correct. it is very, very popular. People want to see us more often. We're really trying to do some outreach and really introduce this to people. So I'll break it down into the typical categories of assistive technology. And just to let you know, we have over 1,400 different devices that we work with on an annual basis, way too many to put in a PowerPoint presentation. And the easiest way to do it is to talk about typical devices that are associated with different functional limitations and things that we help people overcome. Here's a couple examples of assistive devices that are used for seating and mobility. UCP is fortunate that in our community here, we have a loaner program where we do minor wheelchair repairs and get them sterilized, get them back out into the community. Here's an example of modified desks and adjustable workstations that are very practical for people who are wheelchair users, but also too, these stations help people with chronic back issues and back pain actually make the adjustments that they need to make to be able to work at a workstation. Believe it or not, we had an individual who was in danger of losing their employment as a stocker. And they needed a similar device, although it was a device that actually modified the workstation where they needed to be able to, they couldn't bend as often as they used to be able to bend prior to. And a device similar to an adjustable workstation helped them to retain their employment because the device actually did the work for them. And of course, we look at assistive technology in high tech, medium tech, and low tech. Something as simple as a slant board is another example of a workspace modification that's certainly very, very practical. We have assistive technology that we share at no cost through a contract that we have with the state, where we actually provide people with wheelchairs, and it could be power wheelchairs, the tilt wheelchairs, the transfer chairs, different devices at no cost to them. People simply go on our website, talk to our staff. The program is funded through funding through Mass Match and re-equipment. And the interesting thing about this program is that we're connected with about 5 other different providers where we share inventory. So if somebody from Greenfield needed a device, we would be able to possibly access devices throughout the Commonwealth. I know your community has a very active device loan program and Stavros is up there. But we're an alternative, and we're always happy to share resources, particularly when it comes to loaner equipment. These devices, if you're a wheelchair user, you would know that several of these devices are covered through insurance, maybe once every couple of years. The cost of the devices are pretty significant. So to be able to get a device, let's say, while your chair is being repaired, which is certainly appropriate, or if something has broken and the device isn't working right now, you can still access our inventory to help get people through that period. We also have funding through our UCP national office for certain let's say we've purchased batteries for folks that are wheelchair users, spare batteries and things like that through a Bellows fund. And usually a couple $100, people have been able to access some of the supports that they need for their wheelchairs. Another category of assistive technology is assistive technology for communication and speech. UCP has not just the assistive technologists that help connect the devices, but we also have speech therapists that we work with that can assist the school districts, the clinicians that the person may in fact be working with be able to tailor make an assistive technology or provide an assistive technology device that maybe the person's already using. This is an example of a Dynavox system. It's one of the high techs. We have PEX communication devices. We have a lot of different communication devices that someone with a speech issue would use. This would be an example of a higher tech device. But then we also have, for a person, let's say, that has just recently suffered a stroke, they may have suffered a head injury, have some difficulty with speech, and they're not at the point where they can use a more complicated assistive technology device system. We have a lot of low-tech devices that are very, very practical to use. This is something that you would see in a product called Go Talk Now. Yes, no, simple options for them to be able to communicate their needs. And of course, these are examples of picture boards that can be established so a person can just point to what it is that they need in a particular issue. And these low-tech devices help deal with a lot of frustration when somebody is trying to be trained in some of the more high-tech devices. Feel free to stop me at any time. Here's an example of a low-tech device. These are switches. It's part of the Go Talk Now system. You can program some of these low-tech devices to do specific yes/no commands, stop commands, go commands. There are actually pictures. Company that puts this together is AbleNet. And we work with all of the major vendors when it comes to, or distributors with regards to assistive technology. My point in bringing this up is that the devices range from low to medium to high tech. And not everybody likes confronting a piece of assistive technology in a high tech fashion just right away. Another popular category of assistive technology devices is assistive technology for computer access. Computers have become such a significant part of people's lives that people with disabilities need modifications to computer devices in order to be able to access the computer device itself. And we'll go over a couple of the different devices that make use of a computer much easier. Here's an example of modified computer mouse for someone that has some fine motor coordination issues. A lot of these devices we actually have in loans, so somebody could try them out and see which ones they're comfortable with. Just so that you know, our loan center is set up for people to actually, it's almost like a library. They take out the device and they try it for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then if they decide that that's something that they want to purchase, we help work with them to be able to access, how they would actually purchase this. In many instances, the devices are less than $100. So we try and keep devices that are very affordable and cost effective. But on the legislative and funding side, Massachusetts has just changed to what's called a technology forward movement, and they are trying to make more money available for people with disabilities to access assistive technology. Right now, individuals with intellectual disabilities have been earmarked for this money, so that's made it a little bit easier for us to be able to counsel individuals that are interested in assistive technology to help them gain the devices that they need. This is really interesting because this is some more of the high-tech devices that are so important for people with disabilities. On the one side, that picture over here, which is basically a switch command, this is something that would connect to a device that would access a person's computer so that they could actually use a simple switch. Let's say they had very limited mobility. They can navigate the computer through a switch. The device over here basically allows them to adjust the commands so that they can communicate with the computer depending on the number of clicks. But probably one of the most inspirational pieces of software that we have for folks that have mobility issues is eye gaze equipment. And that's a software program that actually helps a person use their eyes to navigate the computer screen. And the actual application of eye gaze equipment technology is fascinating. Essentially, it tracks the eyes, and you can manage and navigate the mouse with blinks. It's just an incredible application of software to help somebody navigate the computer that has some significant mobility issues. For folks that you may have in your community that are suffering from arthritis, or again have some fine motor coordination issues because of a stroke, or maybe they've have cerebral palsy. There's a lot of different low-tech modifications that can be made to pens and pencils that can accommodate a person's limitations with regard to fine motor dexterity. Some of the devices over here are really simple and inexpensive. You know, build-ups for pencils and for pens. Other ones need a little bit more adjustment, like this brace that's connected to a pen or pencil that somebody could grasp. And there they'd have a little bit more gross motor abilities so that they could actually use the device to help them write whatever it is that they need to write. Although very few people are writing things anymore. Everything is computer-based. So these are tending not to go as quickly as some of the other devices. And then the most interesting thing is the AT for writing, which is the more high-tech types of device. Here's a product called Dragon Naturally Speaking. So this is speech-to-text type of software. This is something that is downloaded to a person's computer, and essentially they'll use this device to be able to speak into this microphone and this headset, and it'll actually write whatever it is on the person's computer. And this can be sent electronically to wherever. Very, very effective. These are devices that are very common, part of the AT package when we work with students that may have some issues with regards to writing, and we help provide them with some of these devices, as well as the training that they need to actually apply the function that the device was intended for. The thing that we do in our AT Center that you need to know is that we try to introduce devices to people from low tech to high tech based on their comfort level. Because for us, it really, really is important that a person feel comfortable actually using the application. And if you start off with Dragon Naturally Speaking, somebody can easily get very, very frustrated with this because it does take a little bit of time to train and then phase the person out. So we really try and give them a broad number of devices to help assist them with their applications.
I used Dragon to Speak for writing all my term papers when I was at UMass through the help with Mass Rehab Commission.
It took a while, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
How long did it take, if you don't mind me asking?
Probably about a month and a half. But what was more happening is there was a device that they introduced because the headset was the issue. It was a device that they had between the headset and the actual computer itself, so that it would help the Dragon Speak actually catch your words more easily.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a small device, but it helped immensely.
Yeah. Yeah. We do a lot of technical support to get over some of these AT glitches. And some of the things that we're learning with some of these devices is that, depending on a person's situation, but also what platform they're comfortable using, different products will work better on Apple versus, different devices. So you really need the support to make it a comfortable experience for people.
Yeah. I can say that my experience with Dragon Speak was not really great.
Mhm.
And I've done much better with Siri.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Apple products are a little more expensive, but
Yeah.
it just seems to work easier for me.
Yeah.
So-
I'll tell you a story, and this is why we're pretty passionate about wanting to get assistive technology out there. There was a young student that was referred to us from Mass Rehab Commission, and he was referred to us for an educational assistive technology assessment because he was failing from school. And this young student had never tried any type of assistive technology. He had suffered a stroke as a child, which left him somewhat paralyzed on one side. And he was not able, as a result, to be able to type reports, write reports. And he needed some technology to be able to help him with education. Never, in fact, been introduced in high school or elementary school to any other types of technology. So here he was in a community college program. And we introduced him to a couple of the devices like Dragon Naturally Speaking. And by the time he graduated, he actually made it to the dean's list. And has a very
As did I.
and it was just an amazing story. The person always had the ability, but just didn't have the resources, didn't have the means to be able to express their ability. And the person went on to get a master's degree in assistive technology and is working in the field. So
Nice.
So AT for reading, equally as inspirational and just as important. Many of the computer devices right now have text to speech already embedded in your navigation feature for the computer. Some of them are more effective than others. Some of the software on the computer actually does visual magnification or can highlight a word and actually read it back to you. But probably the most popular assistive technology software is the Kurzweil educational products, which it amazes me how few people know about these types of software packages that can read to students, particularly students that may have dyslexia or a learning disability, that need that special processing assistance to be able to complete their schoolwork. So we work with a lot of special education departments to introduce them to this type of software program. And we actually have the vendor from Kurzweil come to UCP. This was a couple of years ago. And we got into the conversation about how technology, which is originally geared for assistive technology, is now being used mainstream. And Kurzweil shared that they'd actually sold a number of their software licenses to Harvard Law School because they were finding that with the Kurzweil product, which was actually the computer reading all of the written material that they had in front of them, that they could process more information in law school than they had been able to without the assistive technology devices, because the software actually has a speed button to be able to read faster, as well as, interestingly enough, to be able to read in different languages. So that's an interesting high-tech product. Again, requires some training to be able to use the application, but certainly something that's available. Here's just different devices that we use for folks that have visual impairments. You know, off to the left are the Magna Cam types of devices that magnify a person's material that they need to read. And that would usually typically sit on a workstation and, you know, basically magnify the person's document that they had to read. I have a story about an individual that worked in our vocational program when I worked in New York several years ago. He came to us and was given a job as a production aide, and his job was to do assembly work with other folks with disabilities. This is back in the days of sheltered workshops. And as I got to know him a little bit, he said to me, you know, I was always interested in doing a little bit more. I think I have a little bit more ability than what I'm kind of given an opportunity for. I'm just not putting my bachelor's degree to work. And I said to him, well, how did you get your bachelor's degree? And he said, oh, well, I have a visual impairment, and Mass Commission for the Blind gave me a Magna Cam so that I could read all my documents. And the issue between this person actually progressing in the career with our organization, which by the way was a rehab facility, was he didn't have access to the technology. Well, we quickly got him access to the assistive technology that he needed, and he made one of the best supervisors for our folks with disabilities around employment, because now he could actually see the work that was always intended, and the people absolutely loved him, and it was great to see him actually be able to get the work done. Ruby readers right next to the Magna Cams. These are handheld types of devices that that you can just you know, put a receipt or some small detailed item in front of, and it will just magnify it. It's amazing what different lights will do for people with visual impairments, and making sure that the workstation is properly lit. So we've got different types of lighting devices that people can try. And of course, these are some of the examples of large button TV remotes, which is one of my favorites, and the phone system over here, which can be used for somebody that has a visual impairment. We also get people that come to us with hearing impairments. These are different types of amplification devices. While we don't provide hearing aids, we certainly work with people that have had hearing aids and maybe need devices as a supplement to their audiology program. Sometimes people's hearing aids will be needing to be repaired, so they'll come to us with some of these amplification devices so they can get through their week until their hearing aids are replaced and given back to them. But we do have different hearing devices that people can try. Interesting, seniors are probably the #1 group that comes to us for these hearing devices, and they don't come to us until after they've tried one of the hearing devices, and they say, this is really good, I think I could use this. So again, just important for us to get out there. Here are some other examples of devices that an individual with a hearing impairment would use to help them live as independently as possible. These are devices over here that go and flash in the event that there's a phone call. This could also be connected to a person's doorbell, or you know, some type of emergency response system. Here's an example of a notification that the phone is ringing. But these could also be used for safety features. Here are things that can be connected to shaker products to notify people. It's not an alarm, but you'll actually vibrate the bed so that it simulates actually letting a person know that it's time to wake up, but you won't hear it. You'll actually get a vibration person will be able to respond to.
Interesting.
Now, the whole concept of smart technology that wanted to be able to speak about. There has been a tremendous movement, particularly because of Bluetooth and connectivity and technology moving in the way of everything being voice activated. And they're making voice activated and controlled devices for almost every function that's imaginable in a person's home. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We actually have voice activated microwaves that for a person that is unable to either access or can cook, that's pre-programmed to do things like make popcorn or cook a chicken, just with the voice activated command, make popcorn. And the microwave will actually recognize the command and actually start making the popcorn. An example over here is a device that you'll see that's on the person's wheelchair that can be used to modify things like answer the phone, turn on the television, turn on the lights. These devices are now becoming commonplace. Several are devices that we actually have in Assistive Technology Lab come from the Apple Store. These are now commercial generic products that people are using, and they're nearly every single function that's available in a person's home. Some type of technology application can be applied. Water temperature, raising and lowering the blinds, raising and lowering people's thermostats. They actually make smart plugs now that can be used to be able to control people's lights and different systems so that somebody could voice command this into a computer. One of the things that you'll notice that's a movement in the technology field right now is really going from single-use devices to now more of workstations. And I want to spend some time talking about this particular system, which is what we call an enabling device for independent living. And this is a home device that somebody would use that's having some difficulties. It could be memory difficulties, it could be an intellectual difficulty. They may have some dementia or Alzheimer's, and they want some additional support to live as independently as possible. And this is a company called Grand Care. And Grand Care is one of the vendors that we work with to actually support people's independent living through our remote monitoring center. So UCP is one of the first agencies in the Commonwealth to have gotten the contract with the Department of Developmental Services to create a remote monitoring center where we can help people with intellectual disabilities maintain their independence by helping to monitor their home living environments and be there on demand at their request. Different levels of remote support. There is the high intensity remote support, which actually a person has to comply with, which are video cameras that actually go in. This device isn't like that. This device is access of remote support upon demand. And you'll see, I don't know if you can see this button over here that says video call. That's a button that somebody would actually press in the system, and the remote monitoring support staff would pop up and say, hey, I need a little help reading my mail, or I just got this letter, I don't understand what it says. And they'd be able to get that support from our remote monitoring station. And then we could make the determination as to whether we can answer the person's question via remote technology, or maybe even send some staff over there to help them out. These types of devices are becoming more and more popular in the field of independent living. It has a telehealth feature to it, which takes things like blood pressure. Glucometers are connected to these types of devices. They can be used to actually work with the person's physician. UCP only uses enabling types of technology, which means that our goal is to utilize the technology to empower people with disabilities to live as independently as possible. The thing that we like about this growing technology is that this is what a person sees at their home. So if you can imagine this on a desk someplace that is essentially a person's portal to care, and then there would be sensors throughout the home to be able to monitor things like, are they getting up in the morning? Have they fallen at all? Are there issues with the phone? Obviously, we would provide them with technology that may not be connected with things like this. Medication dispensing technology, cognitive support technology, which helps them with cooking, with their daily routines and things like that. But these types of alerts and communications can be connected to their circle of support, such as their family. So now we're working with an open system, and it's not just a remote closed system where the agency is the only one that's providing the person with care. We feel strongly about that because UCP is a family-based organization, and we consider families to be partners in the work that we do. And so we try and pick devices that actually have the feature that allows family members to utilize the technology while we're providing this support. Notes can be written in this if it's needed. A person's PCA can come in and basically let the team know the person's having a good day. But also too, there are social features in this. Person can use this to kind of plan their day if their friends are having different activities, or sometimes this is used in assisted living where they'll actually do newsletters in these programs to let people know what social events are happening throughout the day. But this is really the latest technology that's helping people with independent living. And we're actually going to be starting this project in January. And we hope to be able to help people live as independently as possible in the community. The other thing that having sit in enough public meetings trying to convince communities that people with disabilities don't necessarily hurt local city economies by creating homes and things like that that not-for-profits own. This device actually is intended to help a person establish their own relationship with the landlord, so that we don't necessarily have to build a group home in your community to provide that person with the support that they need to live independently, which we feel is a more natural relationship with their community. So yeah, that's kind of the latest in the assistive technology field. This is just an example of the different devices that we use in an AT lab. And this is an example of individuals that this is a 3-bedroom apartment program where folks have their own space, 2 bedrooms downstairs, or 1 bedroom downstairs, 2 bedrooms upstairs. And this is our pilot program where people are living in this home in their own apartments. Some of them actually came from group homes. And they're living independently through technology. And one of the comments somebody made was, never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined the opportunity to live in my own apartment with the help of AT. So for us, that kind of hits it. So that's our website, and I hope I didn't take too long.
No. I just 2 things came to mind. With the smart technology, do your folks come and help set it up?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So that's
yes.
the service that's available.
Yep. So,
And my second, go ahead.
yeah, so we not only set it up, but we provide ongoing technical support. So what happens is we'll do an evaluation. We'll help the person with the training. And then if they have a question or something breaks down or has some difficulty, they'll actually contact our technical support center. And we will try and either do the fix remotely through our AT center or go out to their home and make sure that their equipment is working properly.
Okay. And my second question was, do you work with the VA at all?
It's funny, we could work with the VA if the VA has a person connected with Mass Rehab Commission. And we're certainly open to working with the VA. Right now, we work with the Workers' Compensation System. We work with Mass Rehab, Department of Developmental Services, but yet to actually establish a connection with the VA. But we'd love to be able to work with the VA.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Bob?
So I was interested in the comment about the group home or the independent living among other individuals, because housing, as you know, is just a big issue now throughout the country. But there are some groups in Greenfield that are looking at how to make accessible, affordable housing happen. So does UCP or Mass Match actually purchase these houses, or are you just saying that they're doing the technology to make them work for others?
So we're actually working with developers to embed the technology so that people with disabilities can have access to the apartments. Affordable housing is, it's an issue across the country, right? There's just not enough affordable housing to be able to support all of the demand. So we are working with a couple of developers to be able to embed our technology into existing homes so that people with disabilities can have access to the technology. Because, I mean, there's been some situations that we've become aware of where somebody has an opportunity to be able to live in an affordable housing setting, but for whatever reason, their assistive technology needs exceed what the apartment can provide. So we go in there and work with the developer to be able to assist in that area. In the future, our hope is to be able to work with a number of developers to be able to, let's say, create more accessible housing in people's community, but one that actually is consistent with the municipality's plan. You know, when I did a lot of development when I worked in New York, and it was always that really awkward, uncomfortable experience at the planning board meeting where you wanted to create some housing for people with disabilities, and people within the community were feeling like, oh, another group home's coming into my neighborhood, and what's that going to be like? And of course, there was the discussion about, well, how much is this going to take off of taxes? You know, and became this really kind of ugly discussion that sort of got away from what was the whole intent. The whole intent is, look, here's a person that needs a house like everybody else. They just need the supports a little bit differently. So at UCP, we decided to, well, let's partner with the landowners and or the landlords and the developers and say, we don't really want to take away your line of business. We really want to be able to work in partnership, because at the end of the day, a person with a disability having a home of their own is what we're all about. So I don't have to go to very uncomfortable public hearings anymore, which makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You don't know if I'm in your backyard. That's how good we are. So all those people that say not in my backyard, you don't even know we're there.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's a real discussion that we have with some of our local officials, you know, how much can you actually afford when something's taken off of the tax rolls? So this is, you know, not only the wave of the future, but I think it makes good economic sense.
There's also, I used to work in a group home. And there was a lot of, you know, when we were building, I used to work at Belchertown State School in Belchertown.
Yeah.
And when that closed, all the residents went into group homes spread out in all through Western Mass. And we found a lot of pushback from, I was not a supervisor, I was a direct care worker.
Yeah.
So, but what we did find was a lot of pushback from various towns, not Greenfield, because Greenfield does have a, or did have a, that's the place I worked in, but there was not in my neighborhood kind of a mentality. And some of that, or maybe even a lot of that has dissipated with the services of technology and your devices or similar devices that help them even leave a group home and get into their own apartment. I've seen that, and I've seen it work firsthand. So, so that's nice to see that they're able to do that.
That's the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is to help people integrate into a community of their choosing. You know, like when I was in New York, we had several group homes that our agency worked with. And one of the challenges that we had was we had some group homes that just ran like clockwork. The staff had been there for years. They knew the individuals, they knew the families. Families would come up to us and say they absolutely love the managers. Don't ever let these people go. And there were some group homes that couldn't keep any staff and they just couldn't get the right mix. And there was a lot of turnover and it was really unsettling to the individuals. And we're hoping that the remote technology will add some consistency in their lives because, you know, we're really trying to pay some of the remote support specialists a higher wage so that they can be there on a consistent basis for people and people can start having some consistency.
I do have a question about one of the technical one of the technical pieces that you reviewed, and it was that last piece where it allowed you know, communication through a variety of people, including family.
Yeah.
Now, if does the family need to have equipment in their home?
Yeah, here's the nice thing about the technology. It's really integrated into common platforms. So all of the software, first of all, just I want to let people know, the remote support technology is secured by its own separate VPN system. We introduce people to smart technology, but we also let them know that the commercial off the shelf stuff is things that everybody should be aware of and have access to and utilize, but it's not secure like having your own separate VPN.
Yeah.
So, so then we introduce people to the software, and the software is anything. It's like any software that you could have access to on the web. It's basically it's out on the web. So you go to the Grand Care application system, you log in with your username and password, you access the VPN, and you can actually use a Grand Care system on your phone. So let's say mom or dad is out there in the community and their son wants to talk to them about a specific thing. They could be on their phone and utilize a Grand Care product. Or the person could call a remote center. So it really is family friendly.
Thank you.
Not a problem. We're excited about it. We really are excited to launch it.
You should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions? Well, I can't thank you enough. This was great, exciting. As I said, I went to your site and was overwhelmed with what was there. But that's a good thing because there's probably something for everybody. Just how to navigate it is the issue. And I'd love to just take advantage of the on the road, the
Yeah,
roadshow, if I can call it that.
In our
And
long
so I
term,
do that. What's the next step for that?
oh, just send me an email. Just
Okay.
send me an email and we'll schedule wherever it is that you'd like us to schedule. Our
Okay.
long-term vision, by long-term, I mean over the next 5 years, we hope to establish an assistive technology center in Greenfield and Springfield.
Oh, wow.
You know, we're working to try and find the funding because, yeah, we could go out on the road, but the majority of the people that come into UCP for assistive technology services is walk-in. You know, we have people walk in and say, my mother just fell and needs a rollator. Is there anything that you have? And then 20 seconds later, we get them a rollator. And yeah, we can do the on the road piece, which I think is certainly fine and helpful, but there's nothing like really actually having a place that we could establish. And we're fighting for funding to be able to establish that. And certainly, you know, the pushback is, you know, the state doesn't necessarily want to pay for bricks and mortar, and I understand that, but you know, if we don't have a place for assistive technology to kind of get introduced, I think that we're really doing a disservice to folks with disabilities that, you know, we call it the Christmas tree store of assistive technology. People walk in and there's just so many different devices. It's like walking through a grocery store and you say to yourself, oh, that's the device I've been looking for. Yeah, I didn't even show you the virtual reality types of skill building devices or the companion pets that are now robotic, you know, and somebody says that cat is the coolest thing. And I said, really? Don't you want to look at some of our eye gaze equipment? No, that computer cat's a riot. Okay.
Yeah.
But they don't know, you know, you have to see it. You have to come to a place where they're exposed to the technology, and that's what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
So if you want the AT Roadshow, just send me an email and we'll schedule the team to go out there. But you know, long term, we'd love to really be in your community and just set up an AT center and work with the provider agencies and work with the schools and work with whoever in your community and say, you know, here we are. If you need something, just let us know.
Now, do you when you set up a center like that, do you have them like in a school, or is it just in a place of its own?
Actually, it could be anywhere. It could really be anywhere. Our preference is to have it with community partners because the AT Center, it's nice to be able to introduce it to people with disabilities. Like right now, one of the satellite centers that we're working with is Berkshire Community College through their student services program, and their students with disabilities are coming in, and you know, there happens to be an AT lab right next to us. You know, so in a location that people with disabilities frequently would come to, it could be a senior center, it could be a school. You know, our preference is a community college just because, you know, we're concerned that students with disabilities often, for whatever reason, don't get the technology that they need and then drop out. But, you know, our technology center here in Pittsfield is about 1,400 square feet. So it's not like it needs a lot of space.
Yeah. Well, we have a community college here, right down the road too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Would,
Okay.
all right. Thank
I
you.
cannot thank you enough. This was great.
I'd love to do it again when we start getting some more technology or whenever, and
Mhm.
certainly love to introduce you to the staff that can go into more in-depth information and each of those functional domains. We have specialty staff that could give you a 3-hour presentation on just one device. So please let us know if there's anything you need in the future.
Okay.
Great.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you. It was great. Good. All right. I really enjoyed that. It was good. Is that the same thing that you saw, Lindsay? The same presentation? Oh, yeah.
Very similar, yeah. Where he
Yeah.
went through a bunch of them. Pamela McBride was on that call as well. So
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Well, there are a few things. I'll try to move along quickly. Are people able to stay a little past 2:30? I know we've
Yes.
talked about this in the past. Okay. All right. It's kind of been a busy month, so just wanted to so the next thing on the agenda is the building accessibility and the library. But I just wanted to quickly ask Doug, because I know he mentioned something about the fire station being a historical site. And has that been cleared? Yes? Okay. You're muted. Can't hear.
The Historical Commission took a vote after a very lively meeting last week. We took a vote to demolish the fire station.
Okay. Okay. I just was looking through the notes and I thought I saw something in the paper about it too, but I wasn't quite sure. Okay. And any further information about the parking space or even what's happening with the back entrance? Bob?
I
I'll
have
let
some
Bob go first and then Pamela can go next. Yeah.
All right. Let me share some photos if I may. Da, 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 da. Don't you hate it when that happens? That's the one. Okay, so we had talked about the difficulty of keeping the back entrance to the library open. Can people see the photo?
No.
Okay.
I gave you presenter privileges, so you should be able to share.
I would say that my master's degree in computer resource technology is back from the days of the foot-operated computers, so it's a little bad. Maybe we can do it this way.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, we were. Sorry, I thought I knew what I was doing here, but
Well, you're halfway there, Bob.
share. Share. I'm having difficulty when I say I want to share something from the meeting, and it says, so choose what you want to share, Bob, and I'm not getting there.
You might have to unshare and reshare. Do we, I know Pam McBride had put her hand up. Do we want
All
to
right.
hear from
Yeah,
her?
why don't
before
we
we
let-
wait?
Yeah, let
Why
me,
don't we let Pam
Please.
go while Bob looks at that?
okay, let me just, so obviously we're moving ahead. The demolition won't be happening of the fire station for at least 2 more weeks. They're still working on the abatement. So, but that's going to be happening and the fences are up, et cetera. They're supposedly still working with Greenfield Savings Bank to see if we can get a couple of parking spaces for the back door. However, if you look at the back parking lot at Greenfield Savings Bank, which I have a feeling that's maybe one of the pictures Bob has, there really isn't a good handicap access that close to the library. I also know that the back door, at some point during construction, the back door is going to have to be closed. It might not happen right away. It might not happen it won't happen for the entire project. But so, for example, when they are actually demolishing the fire station, for safety reasons, they're going to have to shut the back door for whatever that period of time is, because there's going to be all sorts of issues. One of the things that we are talking about is finding ways of improving how we can help serve our community for people who can't get into the building. So we are working on a plan and hoping to start to institute some of it in November, because we're also shutting down the main entrance doors in a little over a week for health and safety issues. I've seen the front door steps. You can actually start to pull pieces out of it. So we are going to shut that main entrance and then have the 2 side entrances open. But what we're also going to be doing is we're going to be setting up a more formalized curbside pickup so that we'll have people make appointments, and so that we can help people, you're picking out stuff, bringing stuff to their cars, because it's very difficult. It's difficult, especially even in the winter, for an able-bodied person to get down the sidewalk, let alone anyone with any kind of issues. And so we're working on that. We're also working with various other groups in the city to see if there's a way that we can get a 15-minute parking space in front of the library for people to use, because of course parking is becoming an issue also. Well,
Right.
it's an issue for all of us. We keep trying to remind ourselves this is for 18 months. It really, in the big scheme of things, it's a short period of time. And I think that is what I have so far. I know that I know, Bob, that you have raised the issue about the sidewalks and the state that they're in. But to be honest, there isn't going to be any more. They're not going to rebuild the sidewalks at this point, especially the one that goes from Main Street back to the back door, because at some point that's probably going to get chewed up with the construction. So it's we've been spending a lot of time just figuring out how can we really help our patrons, especially the ones who don't have access, and make it's difficult to get into the library. That's what I have so far.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I see pictures. Looks like it's working.
You are seeing some pictures now?
Yes,
Okay, so this is the handicap parking at the Greenfield Savings Bank. It's on the Federal Street side. It's beautiful. It's nicely marked. 0 roll into the sidewalk to go to the front of the building. There's some weird aspects to it that we don't really need to talk about, where you can get from there to the parking that we're interested in, except It's not an access aisle, so it doesn't help. But this is what it looks like. This is the path to the library here at the top of the screen.
Right.
That's the asphalt path that goes back. And trying to say, we'll put a parking spot for you back here with a sign up, as Pamela says, that's not going to do you any good because there is no curb cut along this whole thing. You have to go all the way up to the bank building
Right.
to come back down to here. If you went the other way, it's down to the drive-through for the teller, and you'd be in the street basically, or in the parking lot with no crosswalk, I believe. And I would say too that this lump of asphalt right here, let's see, it's got quite a lump to get from the sidewalk onto the path to go to the library. So that is a problem. And Pamela has laid it out very nicely that the sidewalk looks like hell. And it used to be that people would park in the handicap parking off to the right, and they'd go across the driveway way down here, and they never used this sidewalk. Or people who were coming from Main Street would just go down the driveway. They would never use this sidewalk because it doesn't get any better the closer you get to the handicapped ramp. And in fact, here's a shot looking back from the handicapped ramp. There's divots, but this area right here, that leads down into where the book delivery was, that Massachusetts Library Service would bring us books from other libraries, take books that had been requested from Greenfield out. So that was a nice way to get up on the sidewalk, and then you were at the top of the ramp, which is literally sticky tape and clarinet reeds holding that together. This was more than a half-inch gap, so somebody put sticky tape or duct tape on it. And I'm prepared to say there is just no way you can do anything about this, I don't think, and not because in 2 years we'll have a library. It's because in weeks or months, we're not going to be coming down that sidewalk anyway, I don't think.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Well, I really like the idea of that there would be the 15-minute parking space, that you could come and pick things up. And as I said last time, I mean, I signed up for the home delivery system too. So,
Yeah, that's one of the things, that's part of the program plan too, is to really start highlighting the homebound program, also getting more people involved in it if they doing it, also offering more, we don't talk about it, but we also have a short-term homebound program that we can use. So sometimes you have people who only need it for a few weeks or a few months because of a short-term injury.
Right.
So looking into expanding that also. So we're working on it.
Good.
It's a process, yes.
Right. And I'm going to assume that that'll get posted on the website, on your
Yes.
website once.
Yes,
the
it will get publicized and posted, and we will make everyone in the community aware of it. Yes.
Okay. And my only thought, Bob, too, was at some point, sometimes those they have these rubber mats that like they use at the beach for a wheelchair. Like they have one at the Green River swimming hole. It's a rubber mat that goes over the sand. So maybe at some point, something like that might be helpful for a temporary situation. I don't think they're terribly expensive. But it was just a thought when you were showing the gaps and the connection between the parking lot. Just like I said, just as a very temporary thing. But those mats can be pretty helpful. Yep.
How long was that that thing that you were talking about?
The mat at the
Yeah,
Green
the mat,
River, at the Green River, it went all the way from the I'm going to call it the boat,
Parking area?
the bathhouse. It
Yeah.
went from the bathhouse
Yeah.
all the way down to the water.
Okay.
So it was
So
a good
quite a distance.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It allows you to get, like I said, get over the sand and into the water. But they are pretty helpful at, going over uneven terrain, for a short period as a temporary fix. So just a thought. Okay. So that was there anything else on library or buildings? Just on this particular thing? I know we have some other issues.
I think Bob had his hand up.
Are you aware?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Are you aware
Um,
of the town?
The next thing on the agenda was the COVID-19 information. And basically what I wanted to say was,
Okay.
I noticed on our website, was that you, Lindsay, who put on the commission's a link on the commission's site, on the city website? There's a link to COVID-19 information, and boy, that was so helpful. Just that it had GCC testing and the times, and so just again let people know that, and I just appreciate that just kind of a nice way to keep the COVID-19 issue available, information updated. Yeah. Okay. The update on street repairs, and I know Fisk Ave was an issue that Bob went to a meeting or went to the opening. Was that correct?
Yeah, I did. And I guess I was a little grumpy with Carol Collins, who said, well, what do you think? And I said, I'm a little concerned about the disabled access to this area. And she said, well, it's a work in progress. And we got together later on, and I did apologize to her for being grumpy, because that was about a 1.5-year project, I think, that she'd worked very hard on. And it is beautiful, but it's inaccessible in a wheelchair. But she has said that there is a part 2 to all of that. And a lot of the parking is going to become park, and they'll take care of the sidewalks at that time. I did go to another meeting recently that was a planning and construction committee meeting. And I would say that Amy McMahon, who owns the Mesa Verde, was very vocal about how them creating that park will cut off the access to her restaurant to deliver the food that she cooks. That she has to back up to the stairs because she does not want to go down Fisk Avenue, which is actually the only wheelchair accessible route to the solar store, Mesa Verde, and I guess the office furniture place, maybe, I don't know. She doesn't want to mix trucks and pedestrians there, which I agree with. But once they start putting a park in there and doing away with the route to those stairs, she's got no way to get food into her restaurant. So that is an interesting discussion.
Bob, have you seen have you seen phase 2 plans? Because they were posted at that unveiling, the phase 2 plan that has
Right.
that specific spot up to her stair, like a delivery route.
It has a
And-
walkway, but it's not a driveway.
It doesn't
There
have
was
a
some-
driveway, that is correct. I'm not sure I just didn't know if you had seen the plans that show the ADA
That was
parking
mentioned.
changes and all of that, because I know that that's been worked on a lot in the last 1.5 months in order to address some of those issues.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Planning and Construction Committee was saying, oh, that's a park. So that's the parking people's venue. That's not us because we do buildings. But then when Amy talked about how difficult that was going to be for her business, I think that they did take up the issue. Doesn't have a lot to do with handicapped access, except to say that, yeah, they're going to fix that camelback sidewalk in future as they do more toward the second phase of it. And we can only hope that Mesa Verde survives.
Okay. So I wanted to just touch base quickly about the CDA mailing address and the contact form. Has there been any, Lindsay?
So I talked to the mayor's office again about this. They are interested in us exploring, I believe what Northampton or Amherst does, I can't remember which is it's a kind of a CDA at, or we can pick what word we want at greenfield-ma.gov. And it then goes to the ADA coordinator and the city liaison, which would be me. And then just similar to your physical mail, right, which right now gets delivered to City Hall. I pick it up, I open it, I send it to you. So it would be the same route as physical mail. And so that is currently, I can't remember if it's Amherst or Northampton, but one of them has that kind of form. So if we just have to tell them what we want it to be. Do you want it Commission on Disability Access at? That seems like really long. Disability Access at, I think that I heard people feeling nervous about if it said CDA at, nobody would know what that is.
Right, right.
So I said I would take it back to you guys and find out what that right address should be.
Mm-hmm. Well, I vote for short disability access. My concern about that, though, is that it might be narrowing things a little too much, that it could, people need to know that there's also other things that we do just besides access. But that's just my first thought offhand. I don't want to complicate things, but sometimes I think the simpler, the better. Yeah. Anybody else? Bob, did you have an idea?
Yeah, I really think we need to have something that indicates that we are an organization, that we are a commission. Maybe you can somehow abbreviate, I don't know. I think that people who are going to use that email address need to have something that's easy to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start switching it around or flipping it and somebody's saying, oh, you need to contact the Commission on Disability Access, maybe it should just be Commission on Disability Access or Disability Access Commission. I think those are really the only two variations that really tell people where the mail is going, even if it's not really the way the mail is going, but that it will end up with us eventually.
Okay. So I vote for Disability Access Commission. That's my thought.
Yeah, and the fact that it's Greenfield is taken care of by everything after the @ symbol. Yeah, I like that.
Right, right.
So are you making that as a motion, Lynn?
Well, I was thinking of that, but then I realized, do we want to wait till Ginny comes back? Do we want to wait till we have everybody else, or does that matter?
I don't think it matters.
All right.
I agree.
Okay. Okay. So then I would like to make a motion that we make it the sorry, Disability Access Commission at Greenfield. Yes. Dad.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Thank you.
And in favor.
And in favor. Okay. There's so few of us, I wasn't quite sure.
I'm in favor of that as well.
Okay. So that's the roll call. We have 3 in favor. Okay.
Unanimous.
Okay. And in terms of the business cards, I'm sorry I didn't finish following up on that, but I will take care of it this month. So now that we have the official contact name, I can make sure that the cards will have that on them. Okay. All right. Just quickly on hybrid meetings. I think that I wanted to mention that I know that the mayor is having a listening session for the ARP money on Monday evening, and I just was going to bring that up as one of the talking points. So, because we talked about that, having the equipment to do that. Anyone else have any other concerns about that? Nope. The Downtown Rapid Recovery Program, that's going to be part of, that also was part of the ARP discussion, which I wanted to include. I think last month, both Virginia and Doug kind of brought up the point that the Court Square is not a major priority for a lot of townspeople, and I'm sure that that will come up at the meeting. Yeah.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna attend the meeting just to make sure it does.
Thank you.
Okay. So Bob did a really wonderful job on the site plan review, and thank you, Doug, for chairing the meeting.
No problem.
I really appreciate that.
My pleasure. And anytime you need it.
Okay. So did you want to talk about that, Bob? You did send us the notes from the planning board.
I did, yeah, and I think that everybody got that. So Pamela may not have, and maybe doesn't want to see it. I don't know. I think the biggest thing that they adopted was the zero exit from the parking into their patio.
Yeah.
I wish that they had also nodded their heads about it making a defined path from the handicap parking to the entrance ramp through the patio, but we'll see how that goes. I'm guessing that Community Action will police that themselves.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah. But really, thank you, Bob, for
Sure.
going to the meetings and you know the presentations. That was really helpful. Really, really good. Okay, and the municipal ADA improvement grant. Lindsay, do you know what the outcome of that was?
Well, I know we submitted it.
We did.
So we submitted it for the Four Corners, not Four Rivers, Four Corners Elementary School, for that stage lift. The lift quote we received was about almost $30,000 for the portable lift there, which seems to unfortunately be pretty accurate.
Standards.
But that lift will be portable, so you know, I don't know. It's an interesting model. I can send you guys the I'll put it, or I can put it in the notes, the make and model, so you can see what they're looking at.
So there's a portable version of the lift, huh?
So we asked the state for a waiver so that we could get a portable lift there. It will, according to their policy, the city's policy, it will stay next to the stage and will only be moved like when they need to refinish the floors, things like that. You know, so it's portable, but actually looking at this company that does its website, it like collapses so it can go through narrow doors. It's got an interesting, it's got casters on it. It's made for indoor outdoor use. So it's kind of a nice thing for the city to have in its back pocket if we need
Yeah.
to improve other spaces that have a short range. It's not
Right.
it's not, going to get you up to the second story, but I can't remember exactly how many feet it goes, but it's
Right.
it looks really nice. I don't know. I think it's a pretty nice piece of equipment.
Oh, great. All right.
So now to wait for December to see if we get it.
Okay. I'm
Either way, we have to fix
optimistic.
that. So
I'm
that's what I told the schools.
optimistic. I think, especially for a school thing, I think it might be good. Our chance might be good. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, good. Thank you, and thank MJ for that. Okay. So the last thing on the list was about the transition plan update. And again, I apologize. I didn't do a lot on that. I'm looking at, for my part, the teaching program for the training program, excuse me, for the city departments. MOD offers a program that they would put on. I'm not sure how practical it is with things right now that you would expect the entire city departments to go to one training. Maybe Lindsay, you could give me a better idea whether that's practical, or my other thought was asking MOD if there's sort of a standardized version of it that each department head could do on their own. So
I think you'd have to discuss it with Danny, who does kind of the overall staff management piece and runs the staff meeting. So they do get all the department heads into a room occasionally, or most of them into a room for staff meetings. So that might be the kind of thing that Danny could tell you if it's feasible or not. Or I guess I would wonder if MOD would be up for doing a live session and then maybe having a recording for those department heads who get called away, like the fire chief or health inspector, or all of the various people in our lives who every once in a while need to put out metaphorical or real fires.
right. Yeah, I just the examples that MOD gave me for the training program were ones that they've done for different towns, and that's like the town of Milton, they had all the department heads come, so it was kind of a one-day training thing.
Sure.
So I will talk to Danny about that and just show her the kind of the example that MOD gives. Yeah. And Bob, we kind of unofficially nominated you for some of the street work. Since you seem to be so capable at curb cuts and reading plans, and anyway.
Yeah, everybody, I told Lynn I've got up to page 18 on the transition plan, so it's not going, it's going like War and Peace is what it's going like.
Are you listening?
Slow. I'm interested in the places that we meet. That the transition plan, of course, is completely out of date now because of the COVID problems and the Zoom meetings. But I would like to kind of track, one, to make sure that we got all the various agencies that have meetings, and I think they may have skipped some, and whether they've started meeting up in other places. I know there are meetings happening on the second floor of City Hall, which is accessible. It's accessible if the door is not locked. I went for a meeting that was to start at 4, and I was a couple minutes late. And of course, the building was locked. So, okay. Anyway, so that's an interest. But yeah, streets and sidewalks fascinate me. So I've developed some techniques for kind of doing Google Street View and going down a street and seeing what in the world is that lump? It can't be a sidewalk. So, and I've been putting in some things per Doug's suggestion with 311. So there's some things that at least are reported in the system now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be happy to take streets and sidewalks.
Okay. All right.
On the streets and sidewalk piece, I did meet with Marlo yesterday on a different thing. And let's see if I can find the quick document. Oh, that would be too easy. He gave me a quick, off the top of his head, sidewalks they had improved this year that were just done in-house. And
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
would be too, it was just quick notes I was taking while he was talking to me.
Okay.
Because that's, let's see, there we go. Sidewalk work in 2021, Church Street in front of the Elks, Wildwood Ave at Denny's, Meridian Street crosswalk, Coleraine Elm to College with ADA. So I think, Bob, you had some questions on that. Lower end of Hope Street and the south side of Pierce, Woodley to Davis.
Right. I saw that. Yeah.
So those were the pieces that he could, off the top of his head, remember that they had done sidewalks.
And there is a link on the city website to the paving schedule for what's next. So Coleraine Street will be paved now that they've done the new sidewalk and the curb cuts. Be interesting to see how that turns out. I will have to leave in about 5 minutes to go get my flu shot. So
Okay. Just quickly, I can wrap things up, but next month our meeting falls on Veterans Day. So we need to come up the second Thursday of November this year is Veterans Day. Is there another day that would work for people? And if you want to my suggestion was either the Wednesday, November 10th, or the Friday, November 12th. Friday, I know, is kind of, busy for people. But my thought was November 10th. So just, would that
either
work?
one of those is good for me.
Okay. I just thought keeping it as close to the regular date would be helpful.
It's good for me too.
Okay. I will send an email to Ginny because I know she's away. How about you, Lindsay? Would that work for you?
Looking at my calendar.
Okay.
Looks like I could do either of those. I can do either.
Okay. All right. And how about you, Pam? Is that
It should be, yeah, I can, it shouldn't be a problem.
okay? All right. So we'll keep it at the same time, 1 o'clock, and
Okay.
we'll look at Wednesday. I'll just confirm that with Ginny, and I'll get back to everybody ASAP. Okay. But right now, that'll be the tentative date. Okay. So
Wait, which is the tentative date? Sorry.
it would be November 10th,
Okay, Wednesday the 10th.
Wednesday, November 10th at 1 o'clock. Okay. Is there anything else pressing? And if not, then I'll adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay,
agreed.
good. All right. Thank you, everyone.